Well, thank you so much, Tom and Kathy, for helping with my project. I know that y'all do the Houston co-housing um,
Co-housing Houston.
co-housing Houston, yes. And I've actually talked to a number of other people about intentional communities and co-housing and kind of eco communities and kind of a wide variety of things. But I was wondering if y'all could talk a little bit more about yourselves, kind of your journey to get to where you are, and kind of like some lessons that you've learned along the way.
You start.
I'll start.
Tom is the burning soul behind this.
Uh,
He's the
I
visionary. I'm the implementer.
I first learned of co-housing probably, almost 20 years ago, and it was in a meditation group meeting. Uh, a friend, a very dear friend, a couple, a bit older than I am. I'm 73. I'll be 73 in a month. He's 92 now, but this was 20 years ago. He's very active, and we're in a meditation community. But this couple would fix meals, and we'd have parties, and we do our periods of silence, and then have pretty raucous but really fun parties where we all cooked and we all drank and we discussed all manner of things. And I mentioned to him that this was one of my favorite activity, and he said, you ought to live in co-housing. I said, what's co-housing? And that started a journey of us. I met Kathy just a few years later. We met. I'd been married for 30 years and divorced, and that's a whole different story. But I was at another meditation, actually retreat, and I spotted this woman across the room and decided to concentrate on her navel rather than mine, and wandered over. And anyway, we've now been married for 11 years and together for 12 and a half, and I found my soulmate. So I could say that, meditation helped me find my soulmate. But we instantly started, not instantly, but almost right away started building a group to look at co-housing for the future. And we actually had a whole lot of people. I think we probably started this in about 2010 or something, started picking names and getting people on email lists and sending out stuff. And then in 2000, late 13, early 14, my job took me to a little refinery. I'm a chemical engineer in Illinois. It was wonderful. And then I retired, and we just went on the road. We were on the road for 2 years, sometimes flying, sometimes driving. We saw 30 states, and went to Europe twice in that period of time, and came back in early 2017, said, let's get co-housing going. And we met in an empty room, the top floor of Kathy's house that we were living in together before we left. There was no more furniture. And so about three couples, was it four couples, maybe? 3 or 4 couples. We met up there sitting on the floor, and we had a whiteboard, and we started. And right now we have purchased land. We have hired architects. The design is almost complete. We've sold 10 of 33 units. So the vision is going. We out of nothing, Kathy and I made this happen. And I will tell you that in the process, we came back to Houston and rented a condo and started loving it. I'll let Kathy go from here.
Okay, so here's my take on this. So while we were gone from 2014 to 2017, whenever we were in an area that there might be a co-housing community, we would contact them and just chat with them and learn and stay in their guest house. So we probably did that about 5 different times. I am a CPA and a project manager, and very, very very organized. And so when we came back in 2017 and we said, let's see if we can't make a go of this. And to do that, we're going to have to be in Houston. Otherwise, we would have continued probably wandering for another couple of years. I love that. So we sold our house in West U and moved into a high rise and started to see if we could put legs on this thing. And like Tom said, it started out with about 4 couples. But we had, we had some do's and don'ts from having talked to people. And so we wanted to do it the most efficient and smart way. So we got these people together and everybody had, great talents. And then we hired a consultant, Katie McCammett, that has been doing this for 30 years. And so
Over 30.
she was the guy, she's our guide. I guess you could say she's our guide. She guides a lot of communities that are in formation throughout the process. And then we met a developer at a co-housing conference who lives in Houston, who was retired and really was interested in co-housing. And so he became our developer. And then we met a couple architects. And so, slowly this vision started to take root and formation as a business, because it is a business. So we have we have committees, we have meetings with agendas, we have we're very keen on starting on time and stopping on time. And I think when we have our monthly info sessions that are open to the public, that's one thing that people take away is, okay, they have a program and they start and they end. And so we've kind of carried that through. I will say that it has been very time consuming and very difficult. It's a new thing. It's new for Texas. We're developers, and I don't know if we really knew what that meant, was being what being a developer meant. But you have a game plan, but there's a lot of flexibility along the way, and there's a lot of building of community and making sure that when we have these meetings that everybody is heard and that their opinions are heard, and that we are active listeners. And we're being trained by another consultant in making decisions by consensus, which is really hard and time consuming. But they say that when you go through that process, those decisions are more likely to stick and maybe minimize hard feelings down the road, like, well, nobody asked me, that kind of thing. So like Tom said, we've got 10 of 11 of 33 sold so far.
It's important that we always try to keep in mind that our business is the business of being community.
Yes,
it's a business of looking after each other, of having a good time together, sharing our lives together, but also having privacy. So we have a hell of a lot of meetings, and they are hard. And some of the work we do, just the stuff that's done flows right over my head, because I don't. We have spreadsheets and lawyers and stuff, but we also go to the park and walk. We do bicycle rides. We have wine tastings. We've listened to music together. We've gone to art museums online together. So it's important, because we know we have to live together. We're building that community now, and we are community now.
And it's a fun, smart group with a variety of interests and backgrounds. We're getting ready to go to the Memorial Park with several others to hook up with one of our newest members, who is I think, conservation director of the Memorial Park Conservancy. So we have that. We have several IT people, finance people, chemical engineers, artists, musicians, anthropologists, just a really
Architects.
architects, several architects.
One of our architects is so. Have you seen our articles in the Chronicle?
I have
Nathan?
not.
All right.
Okay, we'll send you that.
I'll send
Oh,
them.
that'd be great.
We've had
Yeah.
3 Chronicle articles, and
A Rice Design Alliance article.
well, that was in the Chronicle.
No, that's a different one. The Rice Design Alliance.
Yeah, the site, CTAs.
Yeah.
But it was also published in the Chronicle.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
And also a LinkedIn, not LinkedIn, Looped In, which is a podcast
podcast.
from the Houston Chronicle. They interviewed our architect. So we've had a lot of publicity.
And we've started about a month ago advertising on NPR.
What does your NPR ad sound like?
We've
It's
never
just a
heard.
short, yeah, we've heard it once. It's a short one. We can probably tell you or email you when the next one will be. 'Cause we have-
It's a 30-second, is it 30
Yeah.
second or 50? Come join Houston Co-Housing, find out about it, what it means to be community.
Something like that.
I don't, I have it written down in the notes someplace, but another member of our group who understands all that stuff has taken charge of that. But
Really, during October, we really started to put a big push out there for marketing, because the land deal closed. Our developer bought the land, and that closed in June. And so then we were able to start via Zoom the design sessions, which had never been done before, designing with a group of people over Zoom. And so we started to get renderings. And so now we had something more tangible to show. And so really during October, we started these NPR ads, and we started having these at least once or twice a week Zoom info sessions that were advertised through our website and through our Facebook page. And we have probably a list of maybe 400 or 500 names in our database that we, send things out to occasionally. So we're really keen now on selling.
so if you want to live in community, come see us.
I definitely will, for sure. Because it's something that is definitely of interest to me. My in-laws live with me as well, so having a group of people for them to kind of connect with would be key. But I want to ask you about how sort of the buying process differs with your community than it would with a regular condo or apartment type place. Does the community get a vet who buys and doesn't, or how does that work?
Okay, so, we're all very compliant. We're compliant with all the laws, the Fair Housing Act, et cetera. So what happens is we advertise and we make ourselves available, and we ask people who might be interested to join us as what we call explorers. And that is $150. And what that does is they have a tiny bit of skin in the game, and we sort of open up our kimono. We give them access to our Dropbox. It has all kinds of information, that shows, the stages of how we are progressing here. And they go to an orientation session, and we spend a lot of time with them, orienting them to see if this is a mutual fit.
And part of that orientation is come into our social gatherings, getting to know us. And each one of the members is tasked with calling them up, saying hello, introducing themselves. So
listening to committee meetings so that they know what this is all about.
They have to be with us for a few months.
So anybody can join as an explorer. They then have 1 to 6 months to decide if they want to become a member. And to become a member, that means to become a member of our development LLC. That is a legal process. So to become a member of the LLC, the existing members vote on them. And then we, through the financial arrangements, we make cash calls are out there to fund the progress. We haven't, we will start, the shovel will probably be put in the ground next summer. We have to have 75% of the units sold with 20% down. And then our developer can go get a construction loan. So cash calls are funding the expenses along the way to pay for our architects and things like that.
So just to look at this in a different way, we're self-selecting in a way, because if you get into us and start, going to our we used to have potlucks all the time, you're going to find out pretty darn quick whether you want to live with us, whether this kind of this kind of community is not for everybody. And it's hard work to make them happen, because the whole group has to, we agree by consensus. Everybody has to consent. So
to important decisions.
To important decisions. Yeah. So when you come into this, you say, holy shit, I don't want to have to do this all the time. But, the work gets easier once you get things built and up and running. Although it's, you're going to be a member just like of a condo. And in a way, in this condo, you're all part of the HOA executive board or something. Not necessarily, but you all have a stake in it. So people, you have your own privacy, your own kitchen, so you never have to come out if you don't want to, but you're not going to buy into this if you don't want to. So it's self-selecting.
But once you get voted into the development LLC, then you become part of the group that funds this. And so by July of next year, you will have already invested 25% of your cost of your home. And then construction begins. And by move-in time, which will be, say, fall of 2022, you go get a mortgage or you pay off the remainder, and that's move-in time. Then everybody's, living there. If you want to sell your unit, you just sell your unit just like you live in a condo. I think there's various sort of schools of thought as to how that works. Like, you would want the prospective person that would want to buy a unit from an existing member would want to know what we're about and what is expected of us. So I think I've heard other communities say that prospective buyers are invited to community meals and things like that. But it works just like you own a condo and you sell a condo. Does that answer your question?
It does. It's really really amazing process that y'all went through, and I definitely want to read those articles and come and join one of your informational meetings and find out some more.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I kind of see humanity eventually branching out from Earth and creating societies on the moon, on Mars, on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, and in free space, and an ever expanding kind of sphere of human activity and civilization. And a lot of investment is happening in terms of the transportation part of the technology, like how do we actually get to places, building rockets and what have you. And I feel like in the space community, there's very little appreciation for sort of that social technology that needs to be developed, where how do you get people in a high stress situation where they're independent, where they're only dependent upon each other,
Right.
where maybe they want to get away from each other, but they can't.
Right.
And you know, they're constantly on the maybe the edge of you know, complete disaster, both,
Yeah.
you know, what have you. And it feels to me that this is actually one of the cheaper areas to actually start doing some pre-work and development in. And I feel like co-housing and intentional communities provides a framework where you can start exploring different sort of social setups and different technology in terms of self-sufficiency and what have you. And I was just wondering, I've I've talked to a few people in the intentional community, and you know, they seem to um, I mean, they have their objectives and they're obviously not space related. But I was wondering what you thought about that thought, and kind of based upon being having an insider's perspective of co-housing. Um, that do you sort of see that as being a good framework for like some preparation for creating communities that would be sort of transplantable?
I think that's interesting.
Uh,
I have a thought.
Go ahead.
Well, I think that's very interesting because I think we, see co-housing as relying on each other, but in a not in such a needy way, if that makes sense. You want to be helpful, and you want to be part of sharing community and supportive, but we all have our private homes and we have our lives. We want to be good citizens in the neighborhood. It's not just this, compound here. We intentionally want to be uh, good neighbors. And so I think that's interesting when you think about, um, like you say, sort of taking this model, and how does this model work in a situation like outer space, or what is it, that place we visited in Scottsdale?
Oh, the bubble
The
or
bubble.
Oh, the Biosphere 2.
We
biosphere,
went to
yeah.
Biosphere 2 last November. Just we were in the area, and just the thinking that they had to live there without any, really, they couldn't get outside of that bubble. And then you think about these expeditions to Antarctica, where the scientists have to live together in really hazardous conditions, and they need each other, and it's got to be very high stress. So I think that people have to be trained in how to live together like that, with how to how to make decisions by consensus, and it's not always the best for you, but it's best for the community, and it's something you can live with. And how do you sort of take that methodology and transplant it, like you're saying?
And you might have some things in that environment that you don't really have in, say, the co-housing Houston environment, in the sense of you might have some time pressure. So the time cost of getting to a consensus might make it moot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I'll throw a little, some ideas. We told you we belong to a meditation community, and whether meditation is a practice of silence, every culture has it. And in the Christian context, we talk about action and contemplation, and the two go together. So if there's not these periods of silence, of sitting still, of not doing, but just being, I think we can miss the mark. So by sitting and just being, we begin to appreciate the other and see ourselves in the other, and not just Kathy, my wife, or Nathan, my friend, but the planet and the trees, the atmosphere that sustains us. And in addition, the universe. My take on this is that humans are just another evolutionary miracle in the whole scheme of creation. And we, Homo sapiens, the way we are right now, have only lived on this planet for a couple 100,000 years. Before that, we were Neanderthal and we were somebody else. But our species is very young. And yet, because of what we are doing, we may kill ourselves out by what we're doing to the planet. The planet will keep going. And then, maybe something will evolve like us in another few hundred years. So we have to look at things in light of, this is not just our home, but this is us. Our universe is us. So we have to take care of it. So we're going to have to learn, if humans, I think Stephen Hawking said we better start hunting for another planet, so we have to do that work. We're going to because this wonderful earth of ours can only sustain so many of us. So we have to colonize, we have to go out, or we have to start folding ourselves in less population, blah, blah, blah. So how we do this, we have to learn to live together. So, and I think that little period of silence, a couple of times a day, can't hurt, but help us do that. That's my pitch.
I like it. I have a question in terms of meditation and where you meditate. Do you find the place to be important, like in nature versus, say, in a dark room versus, maybe something with, you know, clutter versus uncluttered? I'm just kind of wondering if the place where you kind of meditate and have those still moments matters at all.
We meditate twice a day, and in the morning we meditate, sitting up in our bed, and in the evening we meditate usually on our sofa here. But as I say that, before COVID, we did a lot of traveling. And we would meditate anywhere. We would meditate at an airport. We would meditate sitting on a park bench. We still do that. We meditate, we live in Herman Park, right across from Herman Park. So we hear a lot of sirens.
In the medical center.
In the medical center. And we just meditate where we are. We are part of several group meditations. So we meditate with small groups three times a week on Zoom now. But I don't know. It's my thought that it's not so much where you are. Now, you want to have a place where you can sit up straight and be comfortable. But it doesn't have to be the same place every time.
It's nice to have, I will say, in your normal routine, and our suggestion is you try to take a time in the morning and a time in the evening. So, we advocate, try to find those places and make those sacred. But when you go out into the world, there's going to be, you got to go, you got to meditate. You meditate first. So that period of the silence is the important part, more than the actual place. Although, place is nice. So as Kathy said, airports, there could be crying babies, but you have to do what you do. So you learn it's never perfect. So you learn to listen to your breath. We say a mantra. So you learn to listen to the mantra, even though you're in an airport or train station, or somebody's playing their rap music too loud. You just do it. So place is good, but it's not the most important.
Sort of the reason I asked that was I had this vision of a person in an astronaut suit sitting in lotus position on the moon, just looking at the Earth, hovering there in space.
Wow.
And I was just wondering what you thought of that vision, what that might be like to be that person, and what effect that experience might have on people.
Wow. I'm not sure I have a word or words for it.
I think I do. We just don't inhabit this earth. We inhabit the universe. So to sit on the moon and be able to see the earth, if you're consumed with, holy smoke, I have not posted my log, my astronaut's log today, and boy, if I don't get this little adjustment made in there, we're going to lose this computer. So those kind of things will always be with us. So when we sit and look at the earth, it's phenomenal. But just like people sit and look at Mount McKinley, if you not have something in your heart that opens up to wonder and awe, it won't make a difference. So it's be phenomenal to look at the earth, but we better realize it is phenomenal for me to see this little redhead walk by. She's got a great bubble butt, and I can't. So I say that in jest, a little tease here, but it's true. We have to see the wonder of our world, and whether we see it from sitting in a park bench and watching the squirrels or sitting on the moon and looking at the earth, it's the same sense of wonder from my perspective.
Yeah, I mean that's right. Either you're open to the wonder of little things, or it doesn't matter how big it is, it's not going to have an impact on you.
That's right.
So, well, I know you'll have a place to be. I didn't want to keep y'all. Is there anything that y'all wanted to talk about that we didn't get to?
Tell us what you're doing.
Yeah. Tell us
Oh.
about you and what you're doing.
Okay, so there's a little history here. Last November, this associate administrator, Doug Laverio, got charged with actually putting into effect the plans of getting us to the moon by the end of 2024. So he had a little lapel pin with the number of days he is counting down to the end of 2024. And he highlighted a NASA person each day that was sort of making efforts towards that. And somehow last December, I'm like walking around my house and it like strikes me out of the blue. Why don't I just go interview everyday people at coffee shops and at the store and at this, and I'll interview a person every day until the end of 2024. My niece was visiting at the time. She's like, yes, Uncle Nathan, you should definitely do that. So I got started interviewing people at like the coffee shop and at the mall. I even went to the UK in February and interviewed people along the way. So that's kind of neat. You don't really have a good excuse to have a meaningful conversation with a stranger. But but being able to say, hey, I'm doing this project, can I of course it sounds kind of scammy whenever you go up to people, can you help me with my project? They're like, what are you trying to sell me? This is a scam. But after you get past that, at least you can find out, what do you think about us going back to the moon? Would you have an interest in going into space and things like that? And it really gives you a chance to connect with people. So I haven't missed a day yet.
Wow.
Whenever I know.
That's very cool, Nathan.
And I have 1,500 more days to go. So if y'all have friends.
So how do you find your people?
Well, going up to random strangers at coffee shops in these times is definitely ill-advised. Largely, I mean, you got Facebook, friends of friends, Twitter, LinkedIn, and so just kind of it's been kind of organic and sporadic like that. So
okay.
Yeah, oftentimes I've gotten to the point where every conversation turns into, oh, hey, can I interview you for my project? So that's kind of
That keeps the list going.
it keeps the list going. Yeah,
Do we have your email? Can we send
Yeah.
you a Zoom invitation to an info session?
most certainly. Yeah, you should have my email. It's the same one that Tom
Yeah,
sent.
we have it.
Okay.
And now I
Uh,
have your phone number, so.
yeah, and I would love to come. Honestly, though, I am a little bit. I work from home before everybody else did. You know, this is pre-COVID. Like one of the reasons why I was doing this project is a personal improvement thing, an anti-social distancing type thing to force me to actually get out and see a human being each day. Because I would go for a week or two with only seeing the people in my house because I have no reason to leave. So it's kind of ironic with the whole COVID thing because one of my rules was all these interviews were going to be in person. So I kind of had to make some modifications because of the COVID, but
This is pretty close to in person. It's pretty close.
We just
it
had
is.
an ad on NPR at noon. One of my co-housers just sent that.
So Nathan, you're not from Houston. Where are you
Um,
from?
you're not going to believe this. I have no idea where the accent came from. I was actually born in Houston, grew up in Southeast Texas. Other than 1 year when I lived in New Hampshire, I've been in Houston the whole time. So I think it's some type of hearing or speech defect, but I have no idea where the accent came from.
I mean, it's almost
So
Canadian or
so
something.
you were born in Houston?
I was born in Houston, grew up in Orangeville, Beaumont area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then I came
Where,
back to
where,
Houston for, for college. Went to HBU for 2 years and then U of H for 10 and got a bachelor's. Of course, I
where-
had 2 children and I got married and a whole bunch of other things in that time. So it's not like I was going to school full time.
well, I don't know.
We're both native Houstonians as well.
Yeah. But no, eh, glad to meet you. Glad you are here.
Glad to talk to you, Nathan, and we'll send you some information. And our website is cohousinghouston.com. You can get everything that I'm going to send you from that website.
And where can we find out about your project?
So I post all these videos unedited on countdowntothemoon.org.
Okay.
And so I got my 340 interviews on there so far. And oh, I should tell you, this interview is going to the moon also. I'm going to be I'm going to be putting on a micro SD card, and there's a company in Pittsburgh, Astrobotic, that's sending a probe to the moon to deliver some equipment for NASA. But in addition to that, they have additional capacity that they could do whatever they want to with. And so they're doing a promotion of DHL where people could buy these little moon boxes and get something delivered to the moon. So I'm
Wow.
That's very cool.
Okay, I have one other question. What do you think of SpaceX?
Oh, I love SpaceX. They're fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about this. I mean, what's the future of cities? We're not going to offices. You got like you could pretty much order anything online and get it at home. And now SpaceX, they have a project called Starlink. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's a set of several thousand low orbiting satellites that will provide high-speed internet access with low latency any place in the world. So you take one of these dishes, they're currently charging like $4.99 for the dish. You pay $99 a month and you have, high-speed internet access anywhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We used to live when we were on the road. We rented a place from Tom's sister in Melbourne, Florida. So which is right down from Cape Canaveral. So we saw a number of the SpaceX launches. Number of them that didn't work.
So I want to blow up.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of two. Was it the one on the launch pad or the one after it took off?
I think after it took off.
Okay. Yeah. They were delivering some equipment to the International Space Station. And then that was unfortunate. But
Yeah.
did you know that they have a huge facility in Boca Chica, Texas, near Brownsville?
I have.
No, I didn't.
I think I read about that.
No.
They're building a
Yeah, it's yeah.
they're building a spacecraft that can carry 100 people at a time to space and be 100% reusable. The same craft could go to space and back 3 times per day. And they're building a factory that they plan to be able to make 2 of these a week. So can you just imagine that scale? Within a week of operation, they would be able to launch more things than have ever been launched in the entire history of humanity.
Unbelievable.
And
Wow.
they're doing it out in the open. There's a whole set of
Yeah.
fans that have cameras and videotapes and everything.
What's
It's close to Big Bend, isn't it? Kind of close to Big Bend? No.
This is near Brownsville. So as you
Okay.
follow the coast towards Mexico, it's right there. In fact, back whenever they were building the border wall, they were originally going to build it through SpaceX's property. So whatever.
Wow.
That's how close to Mexico it is, right by the Gulf of Mexico.
Okay.
Okay,
All
well,
right.
I'm gonna sign out and go get the car to pick you up. So it was
Hey,
really
Nathan,
great.
this was
I
really
hope
fun.
I hope our paths cross again.
Oh, they definitely will. I'll definitely be at the info session, and as soon as this COVID thing gets done, I hope to see you all in person.
All right. Take
Sounds
care,
good.
man.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.